Hey yo, what's goody everybody? Today's topic, overcoming peer pressure. Everybody has struggled with what's right, what's wrong, and what's enough. With school starting this month, now's the perfect time to go over what's tough. Today's three focuses are values, influences, and sticking to you. So now that we're live, let's dive. Point number one, moral compass. Everything starts and begins with you. So before we can combat anything, we have to know what's the right thing to do. Denzel Washington says, it starts with you. Denzel Washington is a world-renowned two-time Academy and Golden Globe award-winning actor, director, and producer. He says, the most important thing in life is to live your life with integrity and not to give in to peer pressure to try to be something that you're not. It's a reminder to us that regardless of the pressure and strangleholds of societal norms, don't ever reform. Instead, we need to show the world how to transform. These are the three things I've identified that separates a confident person versus an insecure one when it comes to moral compass. And the first thing is truths. Because while one is bending their truths to fit into society, the other one is staying honest to themselves, achieving ultimate sobriety. Now, when we were kids, many of us heard the same infomercial when it came to addictions. Just say no. But as we get older and older, we begin to get closer and closer to the edge of the boat. A common phrase many of us have heard is, you know what? Just try it. One time is okay. Instead, a confident person remembers that message. Just say no, and they don't stray. And then when that person gives it a try and they get a little bit of an itch or they get hooked, they try to justify it saying, you know what? Nothing's wrong with doing it here and there. Instead, a confident person remains wise. They learn from others' mistakes to avoid despair. But then lastly, when that person is hooked and their friend tries to confront them and say you have a problem or you have an addiction, they'll begin denying it and they'll say, you know what, everybody else is doing it anyway. Instead, a confident person looks in the mirror and they realize it's just them. That thought is never going to go away. And that's what we need to do today. So then the next thing is mentality. An insecure person identifies with society, while a confident person knows their identity. Because while one is slowly becoming a shell of themselves, the other person is separating themselves from everyone else. An insecure person will question their identity, and they'll buy into the public perceptions of looks, style, and interest. Constantly concerned about others, this other person is disinterested. They know their likes and dislikes, regardless of the styles or the trends. While everyone else is walking around like sheep, they'll never pretend. And then the last thing is the golden rule. An insecure person is selfish, while a confident person is selfless. Because while one is thinking only about themselves, the other person is trying to figure out how to help the helpless. This is really about the little things, where oftentimes a selfish person doesn't hold the door open, littering, they're berating others, and they're valuing themselves over those with less of a chance. Meanwhile, a selfless person will happily hold the door open, throw away their trash, have patience with others, and help those within a glance. Regardless of who you are or what you perceive, our moral compass navigates us away from defeat. After all, Denzel says, some people will never like you because your spirit irritates their demons. Him staying focused on his compass allowed him to succeed regardless of the season. So that's what leads me to point number two. Point number two, ignore the crowd. The crowd will say anything to make themselves appear to be right, but it's your job to ignore them and to focus on your light. Taylor Swift says, you're different. Be you. #1 female pop artist of all time, over 100 music awards, and has been in the spotlight since she was 16. This is what she has to say about peer pressure. If you're experiencing turbulence or pressure, that probably means you're rising. Essentially, she's saying, haters are going to hate. Ignore their words, go out and be great. So these are the 3 things I've identified that separates a confident person versus an insecure one when it comes to ignoring the crowd. And the first thing is substance abuse, because an insecure person will join the flock because it's perceived as cool, but a confident person ignores the masses and avoids being a tool. After all, alcohol and drugs are perceived as awesome and the cool thing to do. We see celebrities and rich people do it all the times, whether it be in movies, social media, or at parties. But they never talk about the flip side, where they've lost their sense of self and are seeking sobriety. And the list is long, and even includes Demi Lovato, Justin Bieber, and Iron Man Robert Downey Jr. And it's only going to grow. But a confident person remembers that infomercial as a kid of just say no. And there's no clinics for sobriety. They know their worth. Even when they wake up the next morning, they're never hurt. So then the next thing is addiction, and it's sex, because after all, sex sells. But it's crazy how the narrative changes depending on the personnel. Hear me out. So with a man, it's all about what's your body count, or do you have game, or you're praised for being active. But if a female was to talk about those same things, it'd be perceived as unattractive. But we're both at fault, and if we took a deep look at ourselves, we're both also lost. And yes, this applies to porn too, because if you're lusting after another, you're slowly going to forget what's important to you. So instead, what a confident person does is they ignore the narrative and they focus on their abstinence and their virginity in order to capture the lasting pleasure of true sublimity. And I'm not perfect. I've definitely failed at this too. But when I practiced abstinence, I was able to see myself in a whole new view. And then the last thing is reactions from the crowd, where an insecure person, they care and they'll let the crowd berate them. Instead, a confident person could care less what they say. They just let them hate them. And honestly, this really stems from us being a society of why not you? Because we have advertisements of alcohol here and the advertisements of sex over there. Honestly, the media just wants us addicted to despair. And something as simple as water at a party, people usually assume, oh, you're the lame duck that was stuck as the DD. Instead, a confident person can be the example and tell them, no, I'm just drinking water for me. So at the end of the day, the crowd doesn't matter. It's all about you. Taylor Swift says, shake it off. So ignore the crowd, be you. So that brings me to point number 3. Point number 3, stand firm in you. You're the centerpiece, the foundation, and the core. If you lose focus on you, you'll lose this internal war. Michael Jordan says, you're the decider in anything that you do. Michael Jordan is a former NBA superstar, 6-time champion, often referred to as the GOAT. Even he struggled with peer pressure in his youth. When he went for minor league baseball, a reporter asked him if he would try chewing tobacco when he played. He said, not this time. I tried it back in high school baseball, peer pressure, and got a little sick. So in the minor leagues, I stuck to sunflower seeds. This goes to show you that even the greats have cracked from their voices. But it's not about what you did, it's how you respond that determines your choices. These are the 3 things I've identified that separates a confident person versus an insecure one when it comes to standing firm. And the first one is confidence. An insecure person wavers under pressure, while the other one is confident in their decision. Because while one is second guessing, the other has a clear vision. And let's be honest, Persistence is the hardest thing to overcome because it can come from so many angles. And the more famous or popular you are, the greater the societal strangle. It can come from your friends, your family, haters, and strangers, and is really just them wanting to be right or to justify their own actions. But a confident person remembers their why, focuses on their gut, and their own satisfaction. And the second thing is risk. An insecure person stays in the shadows, while a confident one takes a chance. Because while one is afraid, the other is prepared to advance. In our society and life, there's so many people that are telling us to do things one way or do things another so we don't stand out. The most common phrases you hear are, go with the flow, don't be the problem, and stay in your lane. An insecure person adheres, but a confident one ignores and goes against the grain. That's because they believe in themselves and they believe in their ability. If we put our mind to anything, anything is a possibility. So then the last thing is responsibility. Because at the end of the day, we're not perfect, we're going to fail, and we're going to mess up. But an insecure person is quick to blame others, while a confident one takes ownership for themselves. Oftentimes, when we feel like we're doing something that we didn't want to do, one person might blame it on the pressure or blame it on others for making them do something they didn't want to. But instead, a confident person takes ownership of their choices and learns how to improve. Because after all, when we mess up, don't beat yourself up too much, because how you respond will determine if you're tough. As Michael Jordan says, don't let them drag you down by rumors. Just go with what you believe in. So we're going to stand firm in ourselves and just keep on breathing. So in conclusion, remember these 3 things. Point number 1, moral compass. It all starts with you. Point number 2, ignore the crowd. Be different, be you. And then point number 3, stand firm because you're the decider in what you do. Those 3 are the keys to overcoming peer pressure. From one witness to another, you are special. Look out.